Firepower deficiency anxiety this term has seemingly been our exclusive vocabulary for quite a long time. But if we look back at the US military's small arms development over the past few years, it seems like the Pentagon has also come down with this terminal illness. The reason isn't complicated. In a desperate battle in Afghanistan, a US military forward outpost came under fierce attack. The light infantry's M4s and M249 machine guns, lacking heavy firepower, would have been completely wiped out if not for Apache helicopters and artillery arriving at the last moment to wash the ground clean. Another reason is actually pretty funny. Bulletproof plate inserts capable of stopping 5.56 mm rounds have already been distributed everywhere. Cheap aside, the performance is genuinely excellent. These heaven-defyingly performing bulletproof plate inserts are being mass-produced like sausages by certain mysterious countries, commercialized, exported, and made dirt cheap. By 2017, the U.S. Army slammed the table. Stop patching things up, we're done babysitting the M4 and 5.56 mm. Let's make a bigger, stronger, more powerful, more jaw-dropping rifle. And so the XM7 rifle, carrying the hopes of the entire village, was born. But when the specs came out, everyone was dumbfounded. Only a 20-round magazine. With a suppressor attached, it weighs a full 10 pounds. Total length approaching 1 meter. What kind of assault rifle is this, U.S. Army? Beyond these physical problems, the issues exposed during testing were even harder to swallow. The new rifle isn't just uncomfortable to use, it's literally life-threatening. The report explicitly mentioned harmful gas spillage when firing the XM7 and XM250. As of 2025, test soldiers have already reported multiple negative physiological effects. A rifle born to solve the grassroots firepower problem is now in the process of poisoning its own operators. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to our channel. Today we're going to go through the old accounts and look at the Americans' divine rifle, the NGSW M7. Jemmy considers it divine in 3 ways. The divine demand for it, the divine specifications it targets, and the solution nobody, not even a divine being, could have thought of. For the US military, the NGSW M7 is genuinely a good thing. We can even say the M7 might be the optimal solution for dealing with the current state of the US Army. Now let Jemmy explain why. First of all, the US military's current issue rifle is the M4. Its advantages are the short barrel, high maneuverability, and the ability to hang accessories until it looks like a Christmas tree, which looks incredibly cool in film and TV. But in reality, this thing has a very serious cartridge firearm mismatch problem. Before the M855A1 round entered service in 2010, the US military issued almost all 5.56 mm weapons, the M855. When designed in the 1970s, it was tailor-made for the 20-inch long barrel of the M16. Fired from that long barrel, muzzle velocity could reach 945 meters per second. External ballistic characteristics were excellent, terminal effect was solid, and it was very kind to barrel life. It was a good round, but it needed a 20-inch barrel. When the U.S. Army switched to the M4, it knowingly or unknowingly glossed over that small issue. The M4's barrel is 14.5 inches. Slow burning powder plus short barrel muzzle velocity drops straight down to 880 meters per second. Some viewers might say, it only dropped 7 or 8%. Is the impact really that big? Yes, the impact is enormous. Here's a hardcore little piece of knowledge. For small caliber high velocity rifle rounds, the most lethal mechanism is not punching clean through a person that's just base damage. The real killing blow is destabilization, tumbling, and fragmentation after entering the body. A slender bullet plunges nose first into flesh. Resistance spikes, it loses balance, and begins violent tumbling. If velocity is fast enough, maximum torque physically tears the bullet apart. Massive fragments scatter throughout the body, and combined with the sudden energy release blasting open a huge temporary cavity, surrounding tissue gets churned into pulp in the blink of an eye. Far more horrifying than simply drilling a single hole. But the key point, triggering this fragmentation meat grinder mechanism, is extremely velocity dependent. The M855's threshold is 762 to 823 meters per second. Above 823, reliable fragmentation, lethality maximized. Below 762, it simply won't fragment, passing straight through like a mediocre ball round. Between 762 and 823, pure luck. Remember the M4's muzzle velocity firing M855? 880 meters per second. This means after just 50 meters, velocity attenuation begins turning it back into a hole puncher. 2 holes in, 2 holes out. Beyond 125 to 150 meters, completely hopeless. As long as no vital organ is hit, the other side can take a round and still shoot back. So much for that claimed 400-meter effective range. Its ballistic performance is equally atrocious. Even for pure fire suppression spray and prey style, the M4 plus M855 combination is terrible. The M855 projectile is simply not a low-drag bullet. It drops into the transonic zone at just over 500 meters out of an M4. We could bluntly say these two together simply waste the performance of the ACOG optics the U.S. military was issuing. To fill this hole, the U.S. military pulled out the M855A1, pushing internal ballistics to their absolute limits. The core focus, lower drag, higher fragmentation tendency. The M855A1's exposed steel tip combined with the copper jacket physically flips outward under hydrostatic pressure at impact. Steel core separates instant fragmentation. Its reliable fragmentation velocity dropped from M855's 823 all the way down to 579 meters per second, giving the M4 reliable terminal effect within 350 meters. But the cost was painful. The projectile got 3.2 mm longer, eating into propellant space. Faster burning propellant was required. Result, chamber pressure leapt from M855's 55,000 psi straight up to 62,000 psi. How absurd. It's already approaching the chamber pressure of the M61 Vulcan cannon on a fighter jet. The PKM machine gun's operating pressure averages only 290 to 310 megapascals for context. Even so, the U.S. Army could only push this far. The M855A1's muzzle velocity only inched from 880 to 905. External ballistic improvement was extremely restrained because the military issued a hard order. The new round's trajectory must be almost completely identical to the old M855. The reason was practical optics issued to troops had reticle markings chemically etched based on M855's ballistics. Change the trajectory and you'd replace every single optic. Never mind veterans whose muscle memory had been hardwired to M855's trajectory through years of counterinsurgency. Go tell the congressional gentlemen about retraining costs. Now, logically speaking, with such a capable M855A1 in service, the U.S. Army should theoretically have no more long-range anxiety. After all, combat experience shows the fire stick in an infantryman's hands 300 meters is plenty. But 300 meters is enough is premised on a sufficient and complete fire support system. Modern warfare is still about system of systems combat, and the U.S. military supporting fire system had deteriorated to a level that was simply unwatchable. Here Jemmy makes a bold statement. Contemporary U.S. Army dismounted infantry actually has no accompanying heavy-caliber infantry support weapons. You heard correctly. U.S. Army grunts fight entirely with fire sticks, basically no heavy machine guns or automatic grenade launchers providing support. Let's take the best-case scenario, the IBCT. According to U.S. Army TO&D, only the battalion-attached heavy weapons company has independently organized 50-caliber Ma-Deuce and MK-19 40mm automatic grenade launchers. And their organization can only be described as creatively unconventional. The Heavy Weapons Company has 4 heavy weapons platoons. Each platoon has 2 weapons squads. Each squad has 2 Humvees. But issued weapons are 2 Ma-Deuces, 2 MK-19s, and 2 TOW anti-tank launchers, meaning the U.S. Army can only selectively mount one or the other on Humvees as needed. According to doctrine, the Ma-Deuce and MK-19 can be dismounted onto tripods when necessary. But apart from watchtower positions, how on earth are infantry supposed to carry these dismounted? The Ma-Deuce body weighs 84 pounds 38, 1 kg. The M3 tripod, 50 pounds 22.68 kg, plus one 100-round ammo box 15.88 kg, total combat-ready weight, a staggering 169 pounds 77.66 kg. The Mk19 is even heavier, body 72.5 pounds, tripod 65 pounds, one ammo box 42 pounds. Combat weight 81.43 kg. These beasts are essentially beyond dismounted carrying capability, vehicle mounted or watchtower bound only. So in a dismounted state, what do US infantry actually have? 3 levels: squad organic weapons, platoon weapons squad, and company mortar section. The squad uses the M249 as its firepower backbone, 9 personnel, 2 teams, each with 1 M249 and 3 M4s, plus the squad leader's M4. 2 M249s, 7 M4s, 2 underbarrel grenade launchers. For rocket launchers, no dedicated billet. Everyone gets the single-use AT-4 disposable, carrying no TO&E slot. The platoon weapons squad has 2 machine gun teams with M240s and 2 anti-tank teams with Javelins. Company headquarters has 2 M224 60 mm mortars. That's it. A full U.S. Army infantry company beyond its M4s has only 18 underbarrel grenade launchers, 18 M249s, 6 M240s, and 6 Javelin launchers. Where are the problems? Direct fire explosive weapons depend entirely on the AT-4, a one-shot tube where hitting 300 meters is already impressive for a skilled operator. The almighty Javelin? First, poorly suited for anything other than vehicle targets, infrared guided, needs a heat source. Second, the U.S. Army simply doesn't have many to throw around. In FY 2026 budget, 649 were allocated. The absurd part, those 649 aren't missiles. They're 649 lightweight command launch units. Missile bodies, 0. Cumulative historical procurement through FY 2026 totals approximately 43,784 rounds. That's decades of procurement, not current inventory. Post-2022 replenishment totals 6,286 rounds, only starting partial delivery in 2025. Meanwhile, the U.S. military has publicly acknowledged giving Ukraine over 10,000 Javelin sets. The Javelin isn't like pressing R for instant reload. It takes 3, 5, 7 years to queue. And facing approximately 12,000 T-72s and T-90s globally, 1 per person isn't even enough for everyone to have a snack. The M240 machine gun, the very latest M240L titanium alloy version in bipod mode with a 100-round pouch and optic, already weighs 14 kg in combat configuration. The older M240B in the same setup, 16.3 kg with center of gravity very far forward, essentially eliminating standing unsupported fire. Prone only, no exceptions. And 7. 62 mm NATO is a classic example of poor external ballistics fired from a 24-inch barrel at around 850 meters per second. It drops into the transonic zone at roughly 770 meters at sea level. The M249 isn't light either. Empty weight 7.44 kg, but with 100-round soft belt pouch and optic, 9.5 kg or more. Standard 200-round plastic ammo box, north of 11 kg. Its fired ammunition drops into transonic zone at just over 600 meters under ideal conditions. Then the U.S. military looked at its primary competitor's firepower, a heavy machine gun with full combat weight of only 29 kg that can truly accompany infantry squads. A brand new 10 kg class heavy machine gun grenade launcher hybrid with smart fire control firing 35 MUM grenades. Never mind the something that stuffed a 120 mm heavy barrel directly into the infantry squad. Even on rifles, a certain Old Bell's 5.8 mm is famously excellent in external ballistics. Brutal would not be an understatement. The Old Bell's new generation 5.8 mm assault rifle and 7.62 mm general-purpose machine gun Americans had caught a whiff of those too. And the domestic body armor plate industry had matured and was now violently expanding production. So the U.S. Army looked at its M4 and shook its head. Looked at the squad's M249 and shook its head again. Looked at the platoon's M240 and shook its head once more. Finally looked at its Ma Deuce and Mk19. At this point, its head was shaking like an electric fan. On one side, its own working like a cart infantry firepower loadout. On the other, the competitor's wide array of celestial tier specifications. Long-range engagement must have it. Must beat the old bell by one head. Replacing everything from rifles to heavy machine guns to grenade launchers top to bottom, obviously not realistic. So, the U.S. Army leveraged its specialty, universality. Universal everything, and this universal product must beat the competitor by one head. 3 flagship products to cleanly resolve the legacy pile, incidentally closing the gap as much as possible. This is the origin of the U.S. Army's next-generation infantry weapons. Competing companies looked at the requirements, and their heads immediately swelled. Small caliber rifles had clearly hit a developmental ceiling. In that case, scale up the cartridge. Bigger caliber, bigger power. How big? Full power rifle cartridge level. The result? The 6.8 mm Fury round. Bigger caliber, larger muzzle energy, higher sectional density. As for armor-piercing performance against bulletproof plate, inserts Germau's evaluation. Have a look, ladies and gentlemen. And leave it there. Let's not even debate whether 6.8 Fury can hard penetrate NIJ level 4 plates. Let's just say it can. Some creative companies today have even produced plates that handle 12 7mm rounds. The U.S. Army can't only expect ammunition to upgrade while disallowing the opponent's plates from upgrading too. Given today's domestically hyper-competitive plate insert industry, even exchanging dollars and yuan one for one, re-equipping an entire military with new plates costs far less than upgrading rifles plus ammunition. Don't believe it? Open any e-commerce platform and see what a plate actually costs. As for why congressional hearings publicly stated the program was launched to penetrate the old bell's body armor, that's easy to understand. You can't have U.S. Army leadership openly admit their infantry firepower system is a pile of garbage comprehensively behind the old bell in a public hearing. You've got to put forward impressive sounding specifications for the congressional gentlemen to approve your project. Because on what other grounds do they give you money? And so the 6.8 mm Fury paired with the M7 rifle and M250 squad automatic weapon, plus a 338 machine gun, this is basically using the minimum programs and minimum money to rescue the infantry firepower system. We could bluntly say the U.S. Army is counting on infantry to compensate for its own squad-level fire support deficiencies. This is exactly why Jemmy said the M7 is a divine rifle and a good thing for the U.S. military. As for the heavier weight and greater recoil from full-power cartridges, that's actually not a major problem for the U.S. Army. Because the U.S. Army truly does treat its soldiers like pack mules. American bipedal mules genuinely carry all of this and have gotten used to it. The M240 gunner example. Combat weight 16.2 kg without ammunition. FM 321.8 requires M240 gunners to carry 300 rounds. M240B plus 2 extra 200-round boxes, machine gun-related weight alone reaches 22.7 kg. Add mandatory tow-and-e items, handgun with ammo, uniform, boots, gloves, helmet, body armor, plate inserts, plate carrier, night vision, first aid kit, canteen. Thermal optic and an M240 gunner in combat-ready configuration carries at minimum over 90 pounds, over 40 kg. Without even counting the pack, MREs, water bags, and batteries. On a short dismounted patrol, this gunner carries roughly 120 pounds, 54 kg. M4 with ACOG, grip, weapon light, laser, and loaded magazine weighs around 4.5 kg. Add a popular 1.8x variable optic and that's 5 kg. Throw on an M320 grenade launcher 5.5 to 6 kg. The M7 Bear rifle plus suppressor plus fire control optic plus magazine is also around 6-point-something kg. Isn't that just about, right? An M4 rifleman's combat load 7 spare magazines, 2 grenades, 1 AT4, plus helping the squad M249 gunner carry a 200-round belt, plus all the other gear TO&E mandated items alone add up to roughly 95 pounds. In actual combat, U.S. soldiers often carry 10 to 11 magazines, backup batteries, breaching explosives loads frequently reaching that staggering 120 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, Jemmy is not making this up. According to an analysis published in the Marine Corps Gazette by the Naval Postgraduate School, the average combat load for Marines in Iraq was 117 pounds. Average in firearms design, the maximum constraint limiting performance is always the human being. The gun's direct carrier is human. Regardless of how accurate, how far, how powerful, the absolute prerequisite is that a human must carry it, lift it, aim it, and use it comfortably. Since the small caliber revolution of the 1970s, firearms development has essentially entered stagnation. All subsequent development has been refining details. The fundamental limiting factor is this mediocre thing called the human. But across the Pacific, in America, there are superhumans. We can't replicate that. So, is the M7 really divine? In the dead-end situation of systemic debt across the entire force. The M7 is merely a painkiller the U.S. Army was forced to pull out. Jemmy calls it the optimal solution because the Pentagon truly has no other choice. Firepower deficiency anxiety is contagious. Facing the same disease, the difference between the two sides is we've already been cured and are getting ready to be discharged, while they've only just run to the emergency room and haven't even gotten a number yet. And as everyone knows, American healthcare requires waiting in line for a very, very long time. That's all for this video. If you think our analysis is hardcore enough and entertaining enough, give us feedback in comment section. Hopefully in next video we can continue talking about the M250. See you next time.